This is African American History is American History.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
It's pretty much forgotten history how the Kennedy administration used NASA and the race for space as an agent for social change during the civil rights movement here on Earth.
One year before the 1964 Civil Rights Act became law, NASA took steps to promote equal employment in the agency. They created a contractors group in Alabama that used its money and influence to make sure African Americans got space jobs. So, NASA hired their first Negro recruiter. His name, Charlie Smoot. His job was to travel the nation persuading black scientists and engineers to come south. The Marshall Space Flight Center invited representatives of the historically black colleges to Huntsville in 1963, and a year later opened the agency's College Cooperative Education Program. Now, this program allowed black students to alternate semesters at school with semesters at Marshall. As a result, Walter Applewhite, Wesley Carter, George Bourdon, Tommy Dubone, William Winfield, Frank C. Williams Jr., and Morgan Watson came to work at the Marshall Space Flight Center. Before John Glenn orbited the Earth, or Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, 4 dedicated black female mathematicians, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Christine Darden, known as human computers, used pencils, slide rules, and adding machines to calculate the numbers that would launch rockets and humans into space. In those early days of the United States space program, history tends to overlook the contributions made by the African American technicians, mathematicians, engineers, and astronaut candidates. Those men and women endured crushing heartbreaks and overwhelming triumphs in order to compete at the highest level of American intellectual and technological achievement, all while surmounting barriers that have been in place since the founding of America. But they did it and paved the way for others to boldly go where no one has gone before. In 1946, just hours after being honorably discharged from the United States Army with a Good Conduct Medal, a Service Medal, and a Victory Medal, Sergeant Isaac Woodard, Jr. was brutally attacked by members of the South Carolina Police Department. The attack, which took place while Woodard was still in uniform, left him permanently blind. The savage maiming of Sergeant Woodard drew national and international outrage from both the black and white communities. On February 12, 1946, Army Sergeant Isaac Woodard Jr. was mustered out of Camp Gordon in Augusta, Georgia, and quickly boarded a Greyhound bus to North Carolina to rejoin his family. While en route, however,
Okay, folks, this here's just a quick rest stop, so if y'all want to stretch your legs and whatnot, best to do so now, because we'll be moving on in exactly 10 minutes.
Excuse me, sir. The colored restrooms are way on the other side of this building. Do you think there'll be enough time for me to run over there?
Now, how in the hell should I know? I ain't no expert on how long it takes you people to go to the bathroom. Unless you want to risk being left here, I'd say the answer is no. Get on back to your seat.
I'll be real quick.
You niggas think just 'cause you're wearing a white man's uniform, that gives you some kind of special privileges. Well, let me tell you what I think. Y'all ain't
Save
gonna...
it. I already know what you think, Cracker. And I could have done my business and been back in the time it just took you to go running off in the mouth.
You smartass, you best watch your tone, boy, or I'm gonna throw your black ass off this damn bus and make you walk to wherever it is you're going.
Thanks for the warning.
after a while, the bus stopped in Batesburg, South Carolina, to let passengers off. The bus driver also got out and proceeded to contact the local police. He came back minutes later with Chief of Police Linwood Shull and a group of officers.
That's him, Chief. The one wearing the Army uniform. Mouthed off to me something awful. Ranting and raving like he owned the damn bus company. Now don't that just beat all? I bet he's drunk.
All right, we'll handle it from here. You there, boy. Come here.
Is there a problem, sir?
You just bet there's a problem, boy. And you made it. What the hell you doing mouthing off to the driver like you done?
But I did. I only asked the driver if I could...
I don't want to hear no excuses, boy. Where you coming from?
Camp Gordon. I was discharged today.
Got any discharge papers to prove that?
Yes, sir.
These could be forgeries. Until we can determine that you didn't steal these papers along with that uniform, you're coming with us.
But, sir, this is all the...
And I'm adding being drunk to the disorderly conduct charge. I do believe that's alcohol I smell on your breath.
No, sir, I have not been drinking.
Let's go.
Sir, I didn't do nothing wrong.
You don't think there's nothing wrong with being drunk and disorderly on an interstate bus, huh? I ain't gonna tell you again, boy. Let's go. Or do you want me to add resisting arrest to your list of charges?
Officer, this is wrong, and you know it.
Boys, drag this black son of a bitch off this bus so it can be on its way. Sorry for the inconvenience, folks.
They took him to a nearby alleyway and proceeded to beat him with nightsticks. Later, in his own court testimony, Sergeant Isaac Woodard would speak on how he was beaten, punched, and kicked on the way to jail. Once there, Chief Shull himself beat him some more. It was in the jail cell that Shull repeatedly jabbed Sergeant Woodard in his eyes with a nightstick. Newspaper accounts say that Sergeant Woodard's eyes were gouged out. Throughout that night, Chief of Police Shull and the other participating members of the Batesburg, South Carolina Police Department continued to beat Sergeant Woodard so badly that he suffered partial amnesia as a result. The following morning, the police brought the now blinded Woodard before a local judge, who found him guilty of being drunk and disorderly and fined him $50. Sergeant Woodard pleaded for medical assistance, but it would be 2 days before he would be seen by a doctor. Not knowing where he was and suffering from amnesia, the 27-year-old ended up in a hospital in Aiken, South Carolina, receiving substandard medical care.
Valentino to the OR, please. Dr. Valentino to the OR, please. Doctor, Negro male, approximately 25 years of age, brought in with severe trauma to both eyes.
Thank you, nurse. All right, let's get him on the table. My God.
What is it, Doctor?
The sclera, the ciliary muscle, the anterior chamber, everything has been obliterated. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do to save this poor man's sight.
After 3 weeks of frantically searching for him, Woodard's family finally discovered he was in Aiken, in the hospital. He was immediately rushed to a U.S. Army hospital in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Though his memory had begun to recover by that time, doctors found both eyes were totally damaged beyond repair. At first, the case was barely reported, but the NAACP worked to publicize Woodard's plight, and soon every major national newspaper in the country covered Sergeant Woodard's story. The NAACP campaigned hard for the South Carolina state government to address the incident and requested that those involved be brought to trial. That request was dismissed. Many celebrities of the day, both black and white, spoke out against this injustice, including heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis, jazz pianist, bandleader, and composer Count Basie, and actor and filmmaker Orson Welles. Welles made it his personal crusade to advocate for the punishment of Shull and his accomplices. He devoted much time to the Woodard attack on his ABC radio show Orson Welles Commentaries. On the July 28, 1946 broadcast, Welles read an affidavit sent to him by the NAACP and signed by Woodard. He criticized the lack of action by the South Carolina government as intolerable and shameful.
Good morning, this is Orson Welles speaking. I'd like to read to you an affidavit. I, Isaac Woodard, Jr., being duly sworn, do depose and state as follows, that I am 27 years old and a veteran of the United States Army, having served for 15 months in the South Pacific and earned 1 battle star. I was honorably discharged on February 12, 1946, from Camp Gordon, Georgia, at 8:30 p.m. at the Greyhound Terminal, Atlanta, Georgia. While I was in uniform, I purchased a ticket to Winnsboro, South Carolina, and took the bus headed there to pick up my wife to come to New York to see my father and mother. About 1 hour out of Atlanta, the bus driver stopped at a small drugstore. As he stopped, I asked him if he had time to wait for me until I had a chance to go to the restroom. He cursed and said no. When he cursed me, I cursed him back. When the bus got to Aiken, he got off and went and got the police. They didn't give me a chance to explain. The policeman struck me with a billy across my head and told me to shut up. After that, the policeman grabbed me by my left arm and twisted it behind my back. I figured he was trying to make me resist. I did not resist against him. He asked me, was I discharged? And I told him yes. When I said yes, that is when he started beating me with a billy, hitting me across the top of the head. After that, I grabbed his billy and wrung it out of his hand. Another policeman came up and threw his gun on me and told me to drop the billy, and he dropped me, so I dropped the billy. After I dropped the billy, the second policeman held his gun on me while the other one was beating me. He knocked me unconscious. After I commenced to come to myself, he hollered, "Get up." I started to get up. He started punching me in my eyes with the end of the billy. When I finally got up, he pushed me inside the jailhouse and locked me up. I woke up next morning and could not see. A policeman said, "Let's go up here and see what the judge says." I told him that I could not see how to come out. I was blind. He said, "Feel your way out." He said I'd be all right after I washed my face. He led me to the judge, and after I told the judge what happened, he said, "We don't have that kind of stuff down here." Then the policeman said, he wrung my billy out of my hand. I told him if he didn't drop it, I'd drop him. That's how I knew it was the same policeman as had beat my eyes out. After that, the judge spoke and said, "I fine you $50 for 30 days in the road." And I said I'd pay the $50, but I did not have the $50 at the time. So the policeman said, "You have some money there in your wallet." He took my wallet and took out all I had. That was a total of $40, and took $4 from my watch pocket. I had a check for $694.73, which was my mustering out pay and soldier's deposit. Said to me, "Can you see how to sign this check? You have a government check." I told him no, sir. So he gave it back to me after that. Took me back and locked me up in the jail. The policeman did. I stayed in there for a while, and after a few minutes, he came and asked me if I wanted a drink of whiskey. If I took a drink of whiskey, he said I'd feel better. I told him no, sir. Didn't care for any. About 5:30 that evening, they took me to the Veterans Hospital in Columbia, South Carolina. One of the contact men came around one day and said to me they were going to take out a pension for me. I believe that the doctor who cared for me was named Dr. Clarence. I told him what had happened to me. He made no comment, but told me I should join a blind school. Sworn to me. It was 23rd day of April, 1946.
The case was presided over by Judge Julius Waddies Waring. The trial was the very definition of a travesty of justice. Thanks to Jim Crow, blacks were excluded from serving on juries, so the case was heard by 12 angry white men. The local U.S. attorney charged with handling the case failed to interview anyone except the bus driver, a decision that Judge Waring, a civil rights advocate, believed was a gross dereliction of duty. Waring later wrote of being disgusted at the way the case was handled at the local level, commenting, "I was shocked by the hypocrisy of my government in submitting that disgraceful case." The defense was even worse. During the trial, for the benefit of the all-white jury, the attorney for Shull shouted racial epithets at Sergeant Woodard. It had gotten so bad that Judge Waring put a stop to it by threatening the attorney with contempt of court. After Woodard gave his account of the events, Shull firmly denied it. He claimed that Woodard had threatened him with a gun, and that Shull had used his nightclub to defend himself. In his closing arguments, the defense attorney stated to the jury,
"So, gentlemen of the jury, there you have it. You have your work cut out for you. All I can say to you fine, upstanding sons of the South is this. If you rule against Police Officer Shull, then let this South Carolina secede again."
On November 5th, 1946, after only 30 minutes of deliberation, the jury found Shull not guilty on all charges, despite his admission that he had, in fact, blinded Woodard. The courtroom broke into applause upon hearing the verdict. The failure to gain conviction of Shull was perceived as a political failure on the part of the Truman administration. Shull went on to live a long life, finally dying in Batesburg, South Carolina on December 27th, 1997, at the age of 95. Isaac Woodard moved north soon after the trial. He lived in New York City for the rest of his life and died at the age of 73 in a Veterans Administration hospital in the Bronx on September 23, 1992. Sergeant Isaac Woodard, Jr., recipient of a Good Conduct Medal, American Campaign Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, and a World War II Victory Medal, was buried with military honors at the Calverton National Cemetery located in Calverton, New York.